for somebody. All right. Hey, 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 beautiful people. I am just getting started. Just was waiting for some people to join before I got going. This is my first live, so please be patient with me as I get accustomed to this platform. So I just want to say welcome. I am Coach SaraLiz. My name is actually Sarah Elizabeth Phillips, and I am a spiritual life coach. And welcome to Motivational Mondays. So I'll give another couple seconds for some people to join us, and I'll get into how tonight's session is going to flow and what we're going to get into. So I appreciate you taking the time this Monday evening to join me in partaking in some good and encouraging information that I intend to share with you. So as a way to get started, the chat is open, so feel free to chat away. We'll have an activity just a little bit later to get you all engaged a little bit. And so first, as I mentioned, I am Sarah Elizabeth Phillips, Coach SaraLiz, and I am a spiritual life coach as well as an organizational psychologist. I am not a therapist, but I'm an organizational psychologist with a focus, with a Master of Science in focused in diversity and social change. So I am committed to the to diversity, not only in the workplace, but through in overall in life. That is what an organizational psychologist does. Is to my focus is bringing diversity and inclusion to spaces and to in a way in which that will support social change, primarily in the African American community. So just to highlight of how tonight's session will go, we will first kind of do to get us started, I'll start with a breathing exercise and then kind of go into, my intention for the 4-hour conversation. And then we'll answer that poll because about 88% of you said that you know that you are worthy, that you are wealthy, and the other 12% said that you believe that you are worthy. So we'll kind of go in and get into that as well. Then we'll have a little bit of fun with the chat, with a little exercise that I've come up with, and then we will close out with a Q&A and then some affirmation, and then we'll be prepared for next week. So just as a way to get us started and get us centered as to where to bring us present to this right now moment, I like to offer that you take 3 deep breaths. And the reason why I asked you to take 3 deep breaths is because it'll support you in clearing your mind and bringing your emotions to balance to right now in this moment. Because we know there's a lot that happens before you got here. So we want to allow yourself to be present. So I invite you to breathe deeply through your mouth, through your nose, and then we're going to breathe out through your mouth. Going to do that 2 more times. That's in through your nose and out through your mouth. And again, 1 more time. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Again, the reason why we are taking those cleansing breaths is because it allows you to clear your mind and to bring you present to this right now moment. My intention for our conversation tonight is to uplift and to add some encouragement to our community by ways of understanding what being worthy is, how the importance of knowing and believing, as well as to bring in alignment what and how we feel about ourselves as regards to our worthiness and how we are wealthy in 5 different areas. So it is my intention to bring that information to this to this community, and so that we can experience an experience of joy, experience of satisfaction, and also the peace of mind and understanding and knowing that we as a people are worthy. So let's jump right in. So, in thinking about wealth, right, because this platform is growing Black wealth. And when you think about wealth, wealth defined is an abundance of valuable possession or money, right? Because when we think about wealth, we instantly think about financial gain. But there are actually 5 areas in which wealth that I will highlight as well. In society, wealth is considered to be finances is number one, social wealth, which is kind of like relationships and the status that you have, and then time, which is like your time freedom, that there's wealth there, and then as well as your physical wealth, meaning your health, and then your spiritual wealth, which is last on the list according to society. But what I want to do is to bring to you my version of what wealth is, because I believe that, and what I've learned is that wealth starts with our spiritual rooting. And when I speak of spiritual wealth, it means in being rooted and grounded in your values and your beliefs, and allowing your mind and your inner self as well as your outer behavior to be all in accordance with spiritual law. And because sometimes when people say spirituality, you automatically think religion, but that is not what spirituality is. Spirituality is bringing into an alignment your mind, your thoughts, your heart, and your behavior. And so that is why it is important to have spirituality as the first key in your spiritual wealth. Because if you are grounded in your spirituality and you allow yourself to be guided and to be rooted, everything else will fall into line. Your second in that list of wealth is your social wealth, the relationships that you have with your family, with yourself. It starts with yourself, and then with your family, with others. That wealth will, spur and continue to move on in the process of building your wealth. So we start with being grounded in our spirituality. Then we are, which allows us to be in alignment with ourselves, which improves the relationships that we have with others. And then thirdly, that supports in our physical health. Our physical health being that we are then in the mindset to take care of our physical health through exercise, through eating properly, to what we feed our minds, to how we actually nurture ourselves. So point 3 in wealth is our physical health, physical wealth. And then point 4 would then be the spiritual, the relationships, the physical health will then automatically bring in that financial wealth. And because you will be in alignment with all that you believe, it is impacted by our situations and circumstances in our control and those that are outside of our control. So we as a people have to examine our belief system. We have to examine to determine what is ours, what we've inherited, and what was put on us in order for us to accept whether or not it is fact. Because at the end of the day, the fact is that we are wealthy. It's just determining whether how to shift our minds into knowing that we are wealthy. That when we show up, there is no explanation, it's just what it is. We are wealthy people. So when it comes to our situations and circumstances, some of the things that we can do in order to understand and to gather, to measure, I should say, our belief in our worthiness, to understand whether to question or to understand where it comes from or where it came from or wherever you may have felt or currently feel that you may not, that you are wealthy or that you are worthy, or where the feeling of maybe unworthiness comes that impacts the thought process of how wealthy you are. So one thing that you can do is you can learn your history. You can learn your history by talking to family members, and if that is not an option, you can, you can learn from your own experiences and examine your own life experience and look at the history. Look at your own history and experience, and where you can connect the dots through friends and family, allow yourself to do that, to have that understanding, and to take that time to actually connect those dots. The second thing you can do is you can allow yourself to remember the first time that you were told that you weren't wealthy or that you actually felt. And when I say wealthy, that is in a space of worth, of our own self-worth. Where was it that you may not have felt, that you may have been told that you are less than, or you may have felt, you may feel like you may have been told, you may have had the belief that you were here, but through words, through actions, and through circumstances, your viewpoint has, is down here, and this is what you know. So to bring those two in alignment, you can allow yourself to remember that first time. Give yourself the permission to go there. Give yourself permission to reflect and to allow yourself to understand where that feeling may have first started. And then you can also allow yourself during that time to hear the words that may have been spoken, to actually feel it, as to so that you understand how you felt when those words were said. And then allow that time that you give yourself to see and feel, and then just put yourself in the circumstance and understand what that experience was like. So then you can get to that root cause of the feelings of on where you may feel that you are not as wealthy as you would like to be in, say, those 5 areas that I mentioned: in your spiritual life, in your relationships, in your physical wealth, in your financial wealth, and in your time wealth, that time freedom. The fourth thing that you can do is, if when you place yourself in the midst of that experience, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for believing that you're not wealthy. Forgive yourself for questioning your worth. Forgive yourself for allowing yourself to believe what naysayers have told you and put on you. Forgive yourself. That forgiveness will then allow you to open up yourself to to ex- to shift that to shifting to the experience that you desire to have. So again, those things that you can ponder over and ask yourself is to learn your history, to allow yourself to remember the first time that you may have felt or felt less than the wealth that you had desired to experience. Allow yourself to hear and feel that experience again, and then forgive yourself in the midst of that. And that all can be accomplished by giving yourself, I would say, 15 to 18 minutes in a day to sit still and be still. Say, take 5 to 8 minutes and allow yourself to just kind of be still and allow yourself to ponder over those questions and so that you can then take that and jot it down, write down how you felt, write down what that experience was like, allow that experience to be documented and written and out of here and out here, so then you can start to shift the effect to experiencing the wealth that you desire to have in your spiritual life, in your relationships, in your physical health, in your financial wealth, as well as that time freedom that we also talked about. That was those 5 areas that were highlighted. So now I invite you, those few that are on, I invite you to get active in the chat, because in understanding all of these various different things, right, in understanding the importance of our wealth in our spiritual life, in our social life, in our physical life, in our financial life, and as well as in that time, we like to, affirm who we are, because through affirmation and through, that is the way that you are commanding what you desire to experience. And so I'll, begin with, some of the, some of the affirmations that are supportive are, I am, because I am is actually a command to the universe. And whatever follows I am follows you. I am wealthy. I am worthy. I am abundant. I am in perfect health. I am, I have time freedom. I am the epitome of love. I am in perfect relationship with my family, with others. Are there any affirmations out there that you would like to give me some affirmations for yourself? I can't really see if anybody's typing in, but those are some affirmations that you can utilize to call in what you desire to experience. Call in the wealth, the experience that you desire to have as it relates to building your wealth. And as you build your wealth, yourself, your self-worth and your self-wealth, that then spurs into other relations, into your relationships, which can have experience in improving your health, as well as improving your financial circumstance and giving you, again, that time freedom that you desire to experience. And so at this time, I would like to open up and see if anybody has any questions for me before I continue. If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. Okay. So there are some resources that I will post in the after this live, that will, if you just send your email, click the and send an email to me, I will give you this resource to be able to support yourself and motivating yourself. And some of the things that are outlined in motivating yourself is, because like I said, what follows I am follows you. And by being intentional about your day, by being intentional about how you speak to yourself, by being intentional about, all that you do in accordance to the goals that you have set before yourself, will be supportive in you achieving all that you desire to experience. And it is important to, speak positively to yourself. It is important to take in, to feed your mind with positive things, with the things that you read, with the things that you listen to, and also with the people that you associate with. And also, it is important to look at situations like we have right now in this moment. We have a divine opportunity to make a change, and that change starts with us. That change starts with us understanding and learning from our experience. That change starts with not only understanding the experience that we have in our own lives, but the understanding the experience of our ancestors, understanding the experience of those that came before us, who fought for freedom, who fought for justice, and who have got us to this point. May we, take the time to learn from our experiences, because by learning from our experiences, we are supporting in healing up those that came before us, so that those coming after us can have an even greater experience than we are. And what that looks like is being honest and telling the truth about what makes you angry, or that you are feeling angry because about the circumstances that we are currently under. And the change that is happening in the world, and the oppression that is being experienced amongst African people globally. So being able to tell the truth about that. What is it that you actually feel? Yeah, you can feel, angry or feel upset about what's being put on TV, and how, where the brutality is consistently is consistent, and the unfairness and all of that? Or can we look at it and say, are you fearful of what's going to happen to your child? Are you fearful of even leaving your home because there's the threat of being harmed by, the police, and or even COVID-19? When you look at all of these things, this impacts the way that we look at ourselves, our worthiness, our wealth, and how we see ourselves in our physical, right? Are we worthy to come out on the other side of COVID-19 unscathed? Because when we look at COVID-19 and we look at the root cause of the on the metaphysical side of what COVID-19 kind of represents, that goes back into our history, right? Because as meaning, what I mean by that is, for every disease and every illness, there is a root cause, right? There is a cause, a law of cause, and there is the effect of what that cause is. And when you look at what the cause of, say, a virus and respiratory issues, a virus is has root is rooted in resentment. It is rooted in bitterness. And respiratory issues, it's rooted in guilt. Is rooted in is excuse me, not guilt. Is rooted in grief. And grief doesn't necessarily have to be the grief of losing a loved one, but grief is any type of change. There is constant change in our communities, whether it's our jobs, whether it's family circumstances, whether it is losing a loved one. There is constant change happening in our community, which grief is very present. So that's how sometimes you can look at what the cause is, so then we can shift the effect to have a different experience. So that was just an example of how looking at the cause of, say, disease, and say in this instance COVID-19, how that can impact how we view ourselves, how that can impact in us saying, well, what I felt and what I thought and believed that I was worthy, or that I actually do not trust that I am safe, right? I do not trust the numbers that are out there, that they're saying that this is now safe to go out, to get that they're starting to open up stores and open up. You may not just feel safe, because because there has been a history of misinformation and medical apartheid against us in the African American community. That is something that is very present. Is that present within you? Do you feel that your best interest is not they're not being forthright with your best interests. That impacts how you feel about yourself. That impacts how you view yourself in being worthy. That impacts how you view your worthiness, right? Because that is a history of us not being treated and not and being misled and misguided to believe certain things. So sometimes we may not understand or may not know what to believe. So that is the importance of getting to the truth of how you feel. Because when you are able to get to the truth of how you really feel, then it is only by identifying that cause that you can actually shift the experience that you are having. Again, and when it comes to our with our experience in this current circumstance, I mentioned COVID-19, and now getting into our safety, right? And feeling, yeah, we can fight for our rights, we can fight, we can you know say cancel fight, but we can go in protest and be in a to be supported to change the laws. However, that does not negate the fact that it impacts your mental and your emotional health. It does not negate the fact that there could be fear present as regards to your fear for your life, fear for your loved ones, fear for your children, going to school every day and how they're being influenced, and the impact that that has on them. Because and the reality is that the children of today are learning about emotions. They're learning about the importance of emotional intelligence and touching and feeling. In my generation, that wasn't something that was taught in school. That was not something that was present. So are you feeling a disconnect because your child is learning how to feel and you may not be in contact with your feelings? That alone can also impact your wealth, which how you view your how worthy and how wealthy you actually feel, right? Because that it can impact your relationship with your child, which is the second key as regards to of feeling wealthy in those five areas. That is the second is relationship. And not feeling connected with your children, that can impact how you view whether you know or you believe that you are wealthy. So all of these things can be considered as to what impacts the viewpoint that you have as it relates to your wealth, whether you know that you are wealthy or whether you believe it. And it's okay to believe it until you know. And how you are able to get to that point of actually knowing it. And what that knowing is that it's fact. It's absolutely fact. There is nothing. It is unapologetically true. There is no doubt. It is just what it is. I am worthy. Um I possess the power to shift and change my experience, right? So it is important to understand how you feel, so then you can then measure whether you actually know you are wealthy, or you feel or you believe that you are wealthy. And it is again in those five areas that I mentioned. Society is quick to put it financial, right? It is quick to put finances in the first place, and working relationships, because it's all external, and it shifts. It doesn't there's no accountability in the external part of it. But when you flip that, as the way that I have addressed here this evening, to your spiritual wealth being first, because in that spiritual wealth, that allows you to be rooted, that allows you to be grounded, and to bring into alignment that mind, your heart, and your behavior. And then it is important for you, because once you are able to do that, you can then build that relationship with yourself, right? And then in building that relationship with yourself, part of that is understanding the cause of your feelings. It is the understanding of you're living the effects. And if the effects are not at the point of wealth that you desire to experience in those 5 areas, or whatever's most important to you, take the time to understand that cause so you can shift that effect. And by shifting that effect, you again will have the divine opportunity and the divine privilege to actually live and co-create the life that you desire to have. Not the life that was put on you, not the life that someone told you that you were to live, not the life that you are in by default, right? Because there could be, you may think, okay, life is great, everything's good and everything, but you have an inner feeling of saying, this isn't really what I would like to do. If you ever wake up in the morning and you're going to work or going to your computer, now a lot of times we don't have to, now we're still working from home. But if you wake up and you say, I would rather be doing something else, why not do that thing? Why not take the steps to improve your current circumstance so that you can do the thing that you love? You see, my day job is an IT professional, consultant. And my day job, I am constantly thinking about getting back in how I'm going to spend my evening in one, either developing materials for my clients, or two, doing a Motivational Mondays, or, so my day job supports me in being able to live and do my passion. And as I create more time, that day job is going to eventually dwindle away because I'm establishing myself in the space and to live my passion. And this did not just happen. It took time for me to get to this point to understand that I was not living my passion. I was not living my purpose. I was living by default. I was living and doing a job and being in a space by default because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. I thought I was supposed to go into business. I thought I was just supposed to have a good job and retire and do it like that. But what I know to be true for myself is my passion is to support others on their journeys and identifying what the cause is that they're living to shift the effects in their life. And the reason why that is a passion of mine is because at the point that I was able to understand the cause because I was living the effects of decisions that I had made. And part of those effects that I was living was impacting my physical health to the point that I was told that I would not see my 40th birthday if I didn't make some shifts in my life to release the stress in my life. What that truth was is that I was making decisions based on what I thought was good to be accepted by the family, and I didn't want to rock the boat and just be the different child. I'm the last child of 10. And, I didn't want to be the one to be that one. However, it was killing me, literally. So it was impacting my physical wealth because my spiritual root, my where I was rooted spiritually wasn't in alignment with what I believed and what I desired to experience. My mind, my heart, and my behavior was out of alignment. So with that, it impacted the relationships that I had because I wasn't living in it. I wasn't being truthful and honest as regards to who I was and what I desired to experience. It wasn't as if I was leading, say, a double life. It was just I had this inner feeling that it just wasn't for me, and I was not speaking up, and I was just allowing myself to live by default and just accept everything and that was just put before me. And then not only did it impacted I wasn't rooted, I wasn't grounded, and then it impacted my relationship with myself because I was out of alignment. And by me impacting my relationship with myself, my physical health was impacted. And I was given at 33 years old, I was 33. At 33 years old, I was giving the option: either make changes in your life or you die in 7 years. You won't see your 40th birthday. It doesn't have to be that drastic for you. But it was in that moment that I actually saw before myself, I saw something different. I didn't see an ending. I saw myself happy, joyous, wealthy, right? Because at that time I didn't know those 5 steps in those 5 areas of wealth. But I didn't see myself as decrepit and sick and because I spent my 20s, I was sick. I was really, off. And in my physical, being, I had to have surgery, and it was just I was really physically not in a good space through my 20s and in my early 30s. And it was only by means of me getting in alignment and finally actually asking and seeing what I wanted that enabled me to make the shift to understand the cause so that I could make a shift in my life. And thankfully, this past December, I did celebrate my 45th birthday. And I am in a space where those doctors and those things that I used to have to go to, it is by means of shifting and understanding the cause, right? Understanding my cause and the reason why I was out of alignment spiritually, within my relationship with myself, which impacted my health, which then impacted my finances, and then most of all my time, because I was constantly going and actually running from myself because I was not good with where I was. But by taking time to understand the cause of my behavior, right? So I had to be asked for help because I didn't know what that cause was. I didn't know what it was. So I went to see a therapist because I wanted to ask the question. I was in a marriage and I wanted to ask the question, well, what was it in me that I thought that was love? What happened in my life that I interpreted that relationship as love? And through that experience and me being able to understand, it's never to point the finger at someone else, because I have always believed that everything starts with self. So it was through my desire to understand my cause of why I was living the effects that I had, because I saw a whole different life that I was currently experiencing. And it was through that due diligence that has brought me here before you tonight to ask you, do you know or do you believe? Because on that operating, after in recovery, when that doctor told me that you know if I didn't get it together, I wouldn't see my 40th birthday. What I knew that my life was not ending at 40. I didn't know. I didn't just believe that it wasn't. No, I knew that it wasn't, because I saw something different for myself. So how many of you out there see something different from what you're currently experiencing? You may have a you may be in a situation where the what you desire to experience, the wealth that you desire to experience, is not where you are. And maybe someone told you, oh well, that's not possible, or that won't happen in this lifetime. You might as well just suck it up and just live the life that you're living right now. How many of you have that, have been told that, or currently experiencing something where you are not at where you desire to be, as regards to your wealth? And it is again in those 5 areas that I mentioned: your spiritual wealth, right? Your social or relationship wealth. And that relationship starts with yourself and then others. Then thirdly, your physical wealth. Fourth, your financial wealth. And fifth, that time wealth, or that time freedom. Where is it? Where in those 5 areas do you believe, or do you know? And when you know it to be fact that is not what you desire to experience, when you know that it is fact that you are destined for something else, what are you willing to do to experience it? What shifts are you willing to make in order to experience and to call in and to manifest the wealth that you desire? Are you willing to choose courage over comfort? And what I mean by that is, are you willing to do something different? Are you willing to step outside of your comfort zone? And are you willing to say, turn off, you may come home immediately and turn the TV on, or right now you might just go from your desk to the couch and seek to relax, when knowing your physical health, really have been told that you need to exercise, that exercise would help to support and improve your physical health? Will you go out and take a walk for 10 to 15 minutes? Will you dance around the house for 10 to 15 minutes? Will you do something different? And courage over comfort doesn't mean that you have to go jump off a, to go skydiving or do something really daring. But if that's what you choose to do, that's what you choose to do. But choosing courage over comfort is choosing something different. What are you willing to do to shift your experience? What are you willing to do to shift your narrative as to how you feel about your wealth in either all 5 areas or one of those areas? Your spiritual wealth, your physical, your relationship wealth, your physical wealth, your financial wealth, and your time wealth. Is your, time freedom, we talk about it, but is it really something that can happen? It is. It is something that you can have, that you can experience, and you can have those 5 in alignment if that is what you desire to do. But it will take you to choose courage over comfort. Will you do it? Will you be committed to yourself? Will you be, because that feeling of wealth, or that worthiness that you have, starts with how you see yourself. When you look in the mirror, do you see yourself as being worthy of having healthy relationships? And it doesn't necessarily have to always be romantic relationships. It can be best friends. It can be family. It can be, just whatever type of work relationships at work. Do you see yourself as being worthy of having the peace of mind that you see or desire to experience? Do you see yourself as worthy as to experiencing joy? Do you see yourself as worthy of, joy is the internal feeling. Happiness is the external that is seen. That is something, do you feel that you are worthy, or that that this is something that you actually deserve? Because you do deserve it. You do deserve to leave your home and to feel safe to leave and to return home safely without being pulled over for no reason, without being harassed for no reason, followed at a store, or doing whatever because of how you look. You are worthy of respect. You are worthy of honor. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of all things good, great, and wonderful. And that can be your experience. You just have to see it for yourself. So again, I ask, do you know or do you believe this to be true? You see, our ancestors, they didn't have a choice in certain circumstances, right? We now have not only the choice, but we have the resources. Excuse me, I got a little tickle in my throat. Let me get a little water. We not only, pardon me, we have the resources. We have so much at our hands that our ancestors didn't even know about. They didn't know. They didn't have time. They didn't even, I had the privilege of going to Africa and serving in Africa in January. And part of my reason for going on that medical mission was because I had set an intention back in 2018 to take my coaching practice globally. And because I wanted to understand the cause of the mental stigma, the stigma of mental health in the African American community. In order for me to understand that that stigma, I said, I need to understand the cause. I need to understand how mental health is viewed and how it is treated in our homeland. So the grand opportunity came for me to go to Ghana. And in January, we were in Accra, in the main city, but our medical mission was in northern Ghana, in the villages. We were in the trenches. And pardon me if I get emotional, because it was in those trenches and in that moment that I got it. You see, in our home in Ghana, in those northern Tamale, in the northern part of Ghana, where I was privileged to serve, there, I served as a spiritual life coach. It was me and my partner, my colleague. She's a clinical psychologist, so we, joined forces. And where there were depression and grief and things, I do not treat. That is a clinical thing. So those would go to her, but I can support in other ways as a spiritual life coach, as well as have a basis in being trained in Black psychology, as well as and also being a psychologist. So being able to talk to our people, and for them to even be so disconnected with their feelings, they didn't even know that stress wasn't something that wasn't common, that wasn't normal. Just being able to teach them how to take a breath, to breathe. And it wasn't that they weren't open to it. It was that mental health in those particular areas, it wasn't something that was talked about. It was just the surface. It was medication that was given to calm them and let them go. There was no treatment to be able to understand that meeting your everyday needs of basic food, shelter, water, those basic needs that they weren't able to meet, that is stress, that causes stress on the body, that causes pain in the back, because because you have lack of support, and all of those things. So it became clear to me that the cause, right, a lot of what our space and how we look at things is that we keep going because we are resilient people. We are hard workers. We just do what we have to do to survive. And that was what was happening in Ghana. They were in survival mode every day, all day, and they didn't have time to think about their mental. We have a different circumstance here. And while I was able to leave behind information as regards to being able to share, because 90% of the people that I was able to see did not read or write. So I had to teach them meditation. I had to teach them breath. I had to teach them various different ways to go out and take a walk, to move the energy of their bodies, to be able to support in shifting, what they're experiencing. So we have a different circumstance. And just like, our people in Ghana, they have a different circumstance, but their desire to have a different experience is what supported them in this, coming not only to ask for help and to gain support, but also to keep some of those relationships going as on continuous for those that could read, could write, and have access to internet. So I ask you, what are you willing to do to shift your experience? What are you willing to do to shift your belief to knowledge? What are you willing to do to experience and call in and manifest the wealth that you not only desire to experience, but the wealth that you deserve? The wealth that has been set before us. All we have to do is have a desire to experience something different. And that starts with understanding our feelings and telling the truth about our feelings. That starts with telling the truth as to currently, right now, in this moment, and just being honest and open and, to yourself. You may have someone that you can share this with. You may have someone that you desire to, share your feelings with and everything. But at first, admit it to yourself, because in the point that you can admit it to yourself, you can then make a self-commitment that to yourself, and then share that with someone else, so that they can be supportive to what you desire to experience, especially if it's you have a mate, and also your family, because you want to be in alignment, because number 2, like I said, is that relationship. because that relationship starts, number one, with you and then others. So, as a brief recap, there were 5 areas of wealth that I highlighted tonight. The first is your spiritual wealth. And for you to be rooted, which means that you are rooted and you are grounded and you are bringing into alignment your spiritual mind, your inner self with your outer behavior. And all of that is in accordance to spiritual law. The second thing is your social wealth or the relationship wealth. And that relationship wealth starts with you. What is the relationship that you have with yourself? Are you keeping self-commitments? Are you consistent with yourself? Are you loving on yourself? Do you set boundaries? Boundaries is huge. Because then you can then not once you are in alignment with that relationship with yourself, you can then carry that into the relationship with your family and with your relationship with your friends, which and then your relationship with others at work, those that you may have direct contact or indirect contact with. It is now your relationships are now wealthy. Thirdly, your physical wealth. Because when your mind, your body, and all of that is in alignment, your relationships and with yourself and primarily yourself is in alignment, then your physical wealth, that perfect health that you may desire to experience, is all in alignment. Because as I highlighted earlier, there are, the start of any illness is, in an emotional or mental, it starts in the emotional or mental space. There's an emotional or mental block there that shows up in the body as disease. So then thirdly, you can have that physical wealth that you desire. Fourth, your financial wealth, because when those 3 things, it then allows you to have the time, the know-how, the determination, the focus to be able to bring in and manifest that financial wealth, however you see fit to do it, whether it's from a 9-to-5 job, whether it's as an entrepreneur, whether, however it is that you desire to, what is in alignment with your vision, in calling in and manifesting that financial wealth. And then lastly, having all of those things will then give you the time, freedom to do what you want to do. And because when it's all in alignment, time is something that we can't get back. So why not experience it? And why not have time wealth? So that was spiritual wealth, social relationship wealth, physical wealth, financial wealth, and then leads to your time wealth. So as I said from the beginning, I will close out with an affirmation. And this affirmation comes from the book Get Over It. It's underneath the prayer and affirmation to neutralize, heal, and eliminate unworthiness and worthlessness. And it reads, I'll actually read the prayer. It says, Beloved Holy Father, humbly I ask for and gratefully I acknowledge that your loving presence is with me in this moment. Teach me how to acknowledge my words so that I will do so as a divine expression of you. Teach me how to accept my words so that I will do so as a unique, creative expression of you. Teach me how to appreciate my words so that I will do so as a loving, purpose-filled expression of you. Teach me how to live my words so that I will do so as a creative expression of you. Teach me how to demonstrate my words so that I will do so as a courageous expression of you. Teach me how to acknowledge, accept, recognize, embrace, appreciate, live, and demonstrate the awareness that I am worthy so that I will do so because of you. Teach me how to acknowledge, accept, recognize, embrace, appreciate, live, and demonstrate the belief that I am worthy so that I will do so as a divine expression of you. Today, it is my intention to embrace every opportunity to stand fully, powerfully, and boldly as a divine expression of the worth of God that I am. God's life as me makes me worthy. God's presence as me makes me worthy. God's truth as me makes me worthy. God's love as me makes me worthy. I surrender all limiting and self-denying thoughts, beliefs, and patterns of behavior. I declare that I am worthy. I surrender all thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and experiences that deny the truth of my being. I declare that I am worthy. I now ask the precious Holy Spirit of life, the presence, movement, and activity of God to give life energy to these words so that they will become the reality I live moment by moment for the rest of my life. I thank you, precious Spirit, for reminding me that this is so. I let it be, and so it is. And the affirmation is, I now acknowledge, accept, and appreciate how worthy I am as an individualized expression of God. May you believe that you are worthy. May that belief turn and shift to you knowing that you are worthy. May you experience the wealth that you desire to experience in your life, spiritually, in your relationships, physically, financially, and in your time wealth. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for your attention. I thank you for allowing me to be supportive and motivating you forward on this Monday. I look forward to seeing you next week. And again, I'll put let me put it in there now. If you send an email to motivational resources at innerhorizonslc.com, I will send you a little trinket, which is I motivate myself. It's just a small little trinket of affirmations that I came up with, as well as some self-reflection questions that you can utilize as you move forward in building your wealth. I am Sarah Elizabeth Phillips, aka Coach SaraLiz, and I ask that you, as we go our separate ways, I ask that you be bold, that you be powerful, that you be authentic, that you be you in all that you do, so that you may not only build your wealth, but you may be motivated to keep self-commitments and not only know that you are worthy, but that you build the wealth that you desire to have. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful night.